Hello, beautiful friends and book lovers. I hope that you're all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Heather, and here at Heather's Book Review, I tend to read and review mysteries and thrillers like you can see behind me. And I pick a lot of my thrillers, actually most of my thrillers, from Book of the Month. So I thought it would be really fun to film a top 10 best favorite books, not necessarily thrillers, because there is at least one on here I can think of that definitely was not a thriller, but I ended up loving it. But basically all the top 10 books I've loved that I got from Book of the Month. So if you're unfamiliar with Book of the Month, it is a book buying subscription. For $14.99, you get to choose one of their picks for the month. But then for $10, you can choose up to 2 add-ons. The max amount of books that you can get from Book of the Month is 3 books a month. And I love it because a lot of the times I will choose up to 3 books. And these books, you know, hardcover books typically retail for like $25 to $32 US, just like my little rough estimate from what I've seen. So being able to sometimes get 3 books for like around $30 that are all hardback, like it makes the subscription worth it for me, in my opinion. Like, I love it. So I will put my referral link in the description box below if you guys are interested. And then if you go through me, I get a free book, which is awesome. But yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into my top 10 best books that I've ever gotten from Book of the Month. So I'm going to start with the one that I don't have because one of my besties is currently borrowing it right now. And that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is just everything. Like, it's so good. I've only read 2 books by Taylor Jenkins Reid, the other one being Malibu Rising, that bright yellow square back there, and I did not like that book. So I feel like I started with a fantastic book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, that being the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And oh my God, I remember this book is really, really big. I'll put the page count down here, at least for me, in my standards. It's like definitely over 400 pages. And I remember it took like at least 80 pages to get into, but like once those 80 pages passed, like I couldn't put this book down. I was laughing, I was crying, like all of the emotions. I loved like everything about this book, just everything about it. It's such a fantastic book. It follows the story of this woman named Evelyn Hugo from a young age far into adulthood. And it's just like, it's such a good story. Highly recommend that book, especially if you've never read anything by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I recommend starting with that one. The second book just disappeared from behind me, and that is The Chestnut Man by Soren Sveistrup. I do think I have an entire review for this on my channel. If I do, I'll put a card up here for it. I absolutely loved this thriller. This is a serial killer thriller, and oh my gosh, it's so good. There's also a show on Netflix. Hi, buddy. You're just great. You're such a good pup. You're such a good pup. We had a little guest come say hi. There is a show on Netflix. You do have to watch it with subtitles. But oh my gosh, this book is like dark and gruesome. This is another big book. How many pages? Over 500. Wow. Yeah. But I flew through this. I think I read it in like 3 to 4 days. It is dark. It is gruesome. You're like trying to figure out the serial killer the entire book. And those are the kind of thrillers that like I love. I will say there are like a lot of gruesome, like very just disturbing scenes in this book. Like some of them I remember and I was just like, ooh, like, hey, don't like to read about that. But come on, like I'm a thriller reader, I'm a thriller lover. Like we all know that some of the books are just disturbing, right? But if you're looking for a good serial killer thriller that like leaves you guessing, and I was wrong in my prediction. I also love when I'm wrong. Like it just makes me so happy because I hate when books are predictable. Then yeah, you should definitely pick this one up. The next book also disappeared from behind me. Do you know which one it is? It is The Collective by Allison Galen. This was a November 2021 pick. And this sat on my shelf for a long time. Like I think I read it in okay, so not that long. I read it in January of 2022. And it is a thriller like any other, because it is just like, it's crazy. It's about these grief-stricken mothers, and they all like find themselves on this forum on the internet, and shit just gets wild. It's just crazy. It's a fast and quick thriller, 335 pages. That's like my perfect amount for a thriller, by the way. Like, not too much, not too little. But yeah, this is a unique thriller, but I can't really say why until you read it. But I do know that I will never, ever, ever read another thriller like this one. Honestly, looking at some of these books, I should make a like, do not get these books from Book of the Month video, because some of these are just like so bad. This book was the entire reason that I even joined Book of the Month. Apparently, I joined over 2 years ago because this was the June 2020 pick. And it is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Now, you may know that Riley Sager is the talk of the town right now in the book community. And in my opinion, the last 2 books he wrote were terrible, Survive the Night and The House Across the Lake. This book is like almost from a completely different author and like in a good way. I have a full review for this. This is like when I came back to BookTube after my many year-long hiatus not being on BookTube. I started this channel back in high school, so if you want to see baby Heather, you just got to scroll back. But anyways, this book, I remember feeling like it was like an adult Nancy Drew kind of vibe, like this haunted mansion, these excerpts from this like journal, spooky stuff going on, and like it's just so good. I remember just like getting this and like just sitting back in our apartment, like reading this, loving it, and just finishing the book and being like, wow, are all of the Book of the Month books gonna be this good? No, folks, they're not. But seriously, this is like one of the better Riley Sager books. This and Lock Every Door by Riley Sager are my 2 absolute favorite books by him. I will link all of the books that I'm talking about in the description box below. If there's a chance that you haven't read either of those yet, you should definitely do that. Next book is the only Kristen Hanna book I have ever read. I don't know what's wrong with me. I really think it's because I don't like sad books. I also don't like sad movies. I don't like sad songs, but I chose The Four Winds in February 2021. And I think you can still get all of these books on Book of the Month, especially if you just look on their app. But one of the books I'm about to talk about soon is like a 2016 book, and I was able to get it this year. But anyways, I got The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. This is like a story about a mother and daughter relationship. 450 pages, and oh gosh, it's just fantastic. I know a lot of people like The Nightingale and The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I should definitely read those, but this is just like, it takes place in Texas during the Dust Bowl like era, and I cried a lot in this one. I really did. It's just such a good story about how this relationship evolves between this mom and daughter, like during all of this really crazy, like historical setting things that are going on, and just like, it's really good. This book will make you sob. Like, I'm just telling you, but it's so freaking good. I just poured myself a big glass of wine to film the second half of these favorite books. All right, here we go. Trucking on. This was the March 2022 pick, Lucy Foley's The Paris Apartment. This was a beautiful surprise, shall I say, because I read The Hunting Party by this author and I didn't love it. It was one of my very first ever reviews when I came back to BookTube. I'll link it up here. I just remember reading that and being like, okay, like it kind of felt like a Ruth Ware in a sense. If you're new here, like Ruth Ware, I'm not her biggest fan, because I feel like her books are always like super atmospheric and have so much potential, but then like always fall flat. And that is exactly what The Hunting Party did for me. But then The Paris Apartment, this is such a fun read. One, it takes place in Paris, like come on. 2, it's like just, you're torn between like 5 different characters and like one of them must have like committed this murder kind of thing. And it's just so fun. It's such a fun, thrilling read. Like if you're just looking for a good thriller to like cozy up on the couch with one weekend, like choose this because it's good and it's not gonna disappoint. Remember earlier in the video when I was like, most of these books should still be available for you to get from Book of the Month because I did just that with an old book. This was an August 2016 pick, and that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I know he just came out with Recursion, or was it Upgrade? I know he has 2 other books that are like super hyped up on BookTube and Bookstagram, and I'm gonna have to read those, but I read this Dark Matter science fiction thriller, and it's so good. This is a book that is about 340 pages, and it is one where like you start reading it and you feel like you've just jumped into a movie. Like it is so fast paced, so thrilling, so many like twists and turns, and I feel like the sci-fi thriller kind of like genre has the ability to do that because basically like anything goes with science fiction, let's be honest, right? And it was so good. Oh my gosh, I wish I could. It's like one of those books that you read for the first time and you're like, I wish I could experience reading this for the first time again. Like it's just one of those that is so, so good. Whew. This next book was a June, the month I had my son, 2021 book, and that is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. He wrote The Silent Patient, which is probably my favorite thriller ever, like to date. It is so, again, speaking of like reading books for the first time again, like you wish you could and just like experience that all over again, that is The Silent Patient. The Maidens is just as good. Like if I hadn't read The Silent Patient, I'd be like, wow, this book's amazing. It is amazing. It is a 5-star. Oh, this is like a, what does everyone say? Dark academia. It's just like a twisted kind of like, ooh, you're just, oh my gosh, it's so good. It is so good. Should I read the synopsis here? A spellbinding tale of psychological suspense, weaving together Greek mythology, murder, and obsession. That's all I'm gonna say. It is, read The Silent Patient first and then read this one. Because like there's a little Easter egg in here, if you will, and it won't make any sense to you if you haven't read The Silent Patient. The second to last book is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is also currently being lent to a friend. This is a super fun, very fast-paced thriller. There's also a movie for it now on Hulu, which my husband and I watched, and we actually both really liked it. And he's like super picky with thrillers. But I remember, hey, speaking of you, I do remember you really liked that movie though.
Yeah. One of the people in the mountain and stuff in the snowstorm.
Yeah. It is about this main character who gets literally stuck in a snowstorm, and then she's at this rest stop with like these 4 weird people, and stuff is just crazy. It's a super fast-paced thriller. Read it in like the winter time if you want to be like immersed with like a snowy snowstorm like thriller. I loved this book. It was so good. I've actually never read anything else by this author. I think he came out with Hairpin Bridge or something, and people like did not like it, so I didn't bother. The next book talking about, speaking of, I should say, fast-paced thrillers, 312 pages, Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I also chose The Wife Upstairs by her, like when I first started Book of the Month, and oh, it was okay. She also writes under a pseudonym, which one? Erin Sterling right here, the Ex-Hex. That is a super cute, like witchy rom-com. This though is like an And Then There Were None twist, but with like really shitty millennials. It's fun. You have like these rich, spoiled kids, and then you have these other kids that are not rich, but they've like weaseled this way onto this trip kind of thing. And they're all on this island together, and then there's like a murder. And it's definitely And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie-esque. I loved it. It was a super fast and like fun read, and I was like, wow, like I had just started my Book of the Month. I'm gonna read every like thriller that I'm gonna read the thriller that they post for the month. That's like the vow that I made to myself, and review it. and this was the January 2022 thriller, and I was like, wow, like we are starting off strong here for this reading goal of mine. And that wraps up the 10 best books that I have ever personally got from Book of the Month. Again, I love this subscription. Every month, like the 2 to 3 days, like leading up to the next month, I'm like obsessively checking the app because sometimes they post the books for the next month like early, but it's July 30th as I'm filming this, and they have not posted them for August. But I'm confident Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney is going to at least be an add-on choice because, like, ooh, I cannot wait. She's my favorite thriller author. But I have loved all of these books. I am confident that if you get one of these books, it's not going to steer you wrong. Like, you are going to have an enjoyable reading experience with it. If you're new here, I would love if you could hit that subscribe button and that post notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new bookish related video. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to chat with you in the comments. Bye, you guys.